she's staring at.
From the man that brought you Tetris comes Hatris, a puzzle game released in 1990 for the Nintendo Entertainment System, the TurboGrafx 16/PC engine, and today's subject matter, the Game Boy. One of several efforts by Alexei Pajitnov to recreate the success he had with Tetris and, let's be honest, not quite getting there. But hey, at least he's got that Tetris thing to make money off of, and that seems to be working out just fine, so I don't think we need to worry about him too much these days. Anywho, Hatris' premise is fairly simple. A pair of hats will fall from the sky and you have to create stacks of 5 of the same hat to make them disappear. If one of the hats lands on a higher stack, you can still control the remaining hat, but with far less room to maneuver because of the other stacks blocking your way. Only vertical stacks of hats can be cleared from the board, no horizontal or diagonal line clears here, which makes sense since you're building stacks of hats, but this also gives Hatris a more strict style of play that feels somewhat limiting at times. Another thing to consider is hat height. Different hats obviously come in different sizes, which ends up taking different amounts of space on the board, and landing one hat type on top of another hat type means more space is taken up, regardless of whether it's a smallish cowboy hat or an eloquently tall top hat. Now, if you manage to clear 2 stacks in one shot, you'll gain a fireball bonus. Pressing the B button will burn one of your hats and you could use that fireball to burn away any incomplete stacks. But if you manage to score 3 fireballs, those will become a helmet, and landing a helmet on any stack will clear out everything underneath said helmet, save for another helmet, which certainly helps things out a bit if you do well enough to earn those. Clearing 20 hats, or 20 stacks of hats, will progress you to the next stage and also give you the option to nuke the screen of a specific type of hat. Hatris lets you choose your starting stage and shop. Stage determines the speed of the drops, while shop determines the garbage hats on screen for you to clear away. Completing stage 9 will treat you to a brief cutscene before taking you to stage 0 of the next shop, where you get to do the whole thing all over again. I gotta be honest here, Hatris does not work for me, brother. Mind you, I find the premise to be oddly intriguing if nothing else, and for what it's worth, the game is largely playable, the control is functional, it does what it does well enough, there's a 2-player mode via game link for the usual puzzle versus action. I'm not going to say that Hatris is a bad game because it isn't, it's just not interesting to me. Part of it is the rigidness of progress. Clearing only vertical stacks and not having the option for horizontal or diagonal clears makes sense in context but feels a bit limiting in gameplay. Imagine columns but only vertical clears are allowed, thus restricting possibilities of potential clears for big points and occasional last-minute saves. That's what Hatris is, and each piece takes up different amounts of space, which makes things a bit tense. But another part is the lack of a soft drop. The ability to speed up the descent of your pieces as seen in most puzzle games of this ilk, including various Tetris games. Instead, pressing down hard drops your hat into a stack, leaving you with the other hat to control until it also hits a stack. So you either have to wait for these hats to drop very, very slowly, especially in the early stages, or take a chance with a hard drop. By stage 8 or 9, drop speeds do feel a bit speedier, but not by much. Hatris feels like something that could offer a potentially interesting game idea, but its restrictive nature can result in some tediously limited gameplay, and the lack of flexibility could result in boredom setting in fairly quickly. For what it's worth, the graphics in Hatris aren't too bad. You have different styles of hats that are visually distinct and easy to tell apart, an important feature to have on a largely monochrome display. It's probably not the most exciting presentation, but it fits the hat shop theme that they have going for it quite nicely. On the audio front, you have a selection of music tracks playing in the background. Nothing too spectacular, but nothing horrid either. It's there. Sound effects are also just there. Nothing special in that regard. Overall, Hatris is one of those games where the concept on paper is more interesting than the actual execution. It's playable, it looks and sounds alright, and it controls just fine, but it's not a game that has much staying power and will wear out its welcome after a while. Needless to say, I got bored with Hatris fairly quickly and soon found myself going back to Bombless, but your mileage may vary on this one. All in all, if you're looking for something different in the usual falling block puzzle variety, Hatris might be right up your alley. But then again, it might not.